Hi, can you see me? Hi, Nipa.
Hi, Rumi.
Hi, Jonas. Hi, just a minute, Nipa.
So,
Just making a co-host. Yes, it's done. Hi, Jonas.
I think Jonas is on mute.
Yes. Jonas, are you on mute? Um, can you unmute? Okay, Hi, Jonas.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
good.
Nikki, can
Nice to see
you?
you.
Nice to see you, Jonas. Hi,
Hi,
Nikki.
Rumi.
Hi, how
Hi.
are you?
Hi, I'm
Okay,
very well. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. In a quick bit, at least we can see each other. Everything is all right. So that's good to know to start off.
Yes. No, it seems to work all right.
Yeah, that seems to work all right. Let me, Nipa, are you there? Nipa, let me introduce Jonas. Nipa is basically helping me. She's also into music. She's a big fan and, she's an admirer of music. Her daughter's into music. So she's helping me from Singapore. She's the co-host.
Hi,
And I have
Nipa.
Alexander
Hi,
Nim, who's
everyone.
also going to
Hi. Hi,
come and be
Nikki.
a co-host. Saeed Murad from Jerusalem is here, the Sabrine band. So we've got an exciting group. Jonas Rock Kawali from Denmark.
Hi, Jonas.
Exciting to see. Yes, it's lovely. It's very international. So asked to unmute. Yeah. Alexander. Okay. So basically, I like to start it off and welcome. Very good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, and it's just wonderful to be here and with us, and especially taking the time out on a Saturday. I know it's weekend for well, most of us here. It's Friday and Saturday, but anywhere around the world. So thank you very much to be here with us today. And today the topic is East meets West through music. And I chose the topic because music around the world really has evolved. And it's been evolving through centuries. But what has happened, as I said, world is become a global village. So the music has closed the gaps in diversity because we have gotten together culturally, fused together in various forms of art, whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether it's storytelling, whether it's filmmaking, you name it. Photography, as something as photography also gives you an expression of people in diverse cultures, and it brings that image and expressions, just touches your heart and your perception. So with that, I would like to, Lubna Appa, thank you very much for joining us. Lubna Mariam, she's one of the most noted dancers in our country and in South Asia. So with that, I would like to start off today. We have three speakers. First is Nikki Wells, very well-noted fusion artist from the UK, but her horizon expands from Europe to South Asia and beyond. And then we have Jonas Stampe, who's done some amazing fusion in terms of rock and kawali, and he'll bring that whole aspect together. How does that function from a Nordic perspective? And then we have Miss Lubna Mariam from Bangladesh, who's going to be our third speaker. So we'll start off with today. We'll start off with Nikki. Nikki, hi.
Hi, Rumi. How are you?
I'm okay, Nikki. I'm okay. And first, on the introduction, Nikki, if you can lead us to how does this sort of fusion came across to you? I know you were raised in India. You were telling me on Himachal Pradesh, but you being from the UK, we would like to see, we'd like to hear from you. How does music navigate, across through the landscape, social landscape? And you have done a very beautiful job, brought this beautiful aspect together. You know, when I hear your music, like Kafaya, when I hear, and you do English songs as well. So I would like to start off with, you know, is that something that it was sort of within you when you were growing up? And to start with, is there a spiritual dimension that sort of, you know, brought you closer to the creative fusion music that you do, you know? So I just kind of want to, you know, and then of course we will go on for other things like emotional, physical, and social integration of cultures and individuals and diversity. So please, without further ado, I'd like to open the floor, and Miss Nikki Wells right here.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today, Rumi, and lovely to meet you all. I think, yeah, it's a very interesting subject. And I mean, ultimately, I think the world, especially in the last 20 years, has become a lot more of a smaller place. But certainly in the last 10 years, with the advancement of technology and everything. Oh, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. I did grow up in India from when I was 6 till 10 years old in Himachal Pradesh. So having grown up with Indian dialects around me, and you know, driving past a radio and having Lata Mangeshkar blaring out the radio, or having, you know, Bollywood music, and having a varied cultural musical palette from a very young age, kind of became my own musical palette. And I do think all of us are a combination of our experiences, you know, this idea of nature and nurture, you know, who we are as people by nature. And if you have a tendency to be musical or a tendency to be creative, you will have the tendency to potentially explore that, but also the environment, the environments that which we grow up in. So if I were to grow up in the middle of Manhattan, if I were to live in the favela of Brazil, it would influence my creative expression. So having grown up in the foothills of the Himalayas in Dharamshala when I was 6 to 10 years old, and having that landscape and having a huge grasp, I would say, of Indian classical music more than anything, was certainly a big influence on my own music. And it wasn't foreign information to my brain, because being a child, you absorb everything wherever you are in your environment. So I think the idea of cultural integration is something that is actually very natural and inherent within all of us. The problem is that we become conditioned and stuck in our own way of doing things or in our own cultures, and that can be very limiting in terms of expression as a creative. So I think to always be open, like a child is, I suppose, and no matter what age we are, to always have this kind of openness to grasp different cultural languages, or I would say colors and expressions, allows us to just be free creatives, really. So in terms of you know, how it started for me, it was just who I am as a person, due to my upbringing and due to the life that I've, you know, been blessed to be born into. So it wasn't something that I have tried to do. It's just more, you know, who I am as a person. And then the various paths that then came along with that, like when I met Nitin Soni, and then he offered me to be in his band, which I was for the last 10 years. And then, you know, working with Anushka Shankar or various people within this kind of music circuit. But then, of course, I've also written my own music, which is also in English lyrics, and, you know, then incorporating those sounds into my London-born life, you know, as well. So I think, like I said earlier, we are all an amalgamation of our experiences and our whatever we absorb as creative channels.
Yeah, that's quite quite amazing, actually. In regards to, do you find, like, when you did a lot of that amalgamation and fusion, do you find particular certain genre that kind of combines with the Western music and the Eastern music, at least the South Asian aspect of music? I know you've worked with classical rags, but you've also kind of, it's got a spiritual dimension, but there's Sufi, there's also the sort of classical rag kind of thing. There's also, in kafaya, you do certain instrumentation, and then it goes with what you're singing. Just like to understand, is there a common thread between the music of these two parts of the world, particularly what you're doing in terms of English singing, and in South Asia in terms of the, with the instruments? One is the vocals, but then, the instruments, how they sort of, is there a common thread? Is there a sort of, connect where it has a more potential of blending? Is it something, in your research? And of course, I watched your TED Talk with Nitin Sawhney. So if you could talk a little bit on that. And also, I'd like you to talk on how it has actually, you think this fusion music kind of creates self-discovery, provide inspiration or pursuit of spirituality. So it's the sort of thing, because you've done, you've got a sort of a, not soft, it's like rock, but soft rock, it's 7. And, you've got some songs which are like you were talking about. I don't know which one it is, but if you can maybe sing, or you can just, or whatever, however you think has appealed to you. And also the audience would love to, I'm sure, to listen to some of the music and sort of flow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, just going back to your earlier question about, how these different styles of music promote a more of a kind of spiritual approach. I would say quite a lot of the music traditionally from the South Asian countries are devotional. So Indian classical, Sufi, Qawwali could probably be compared to the gospel music of America, where it's it derives from this folk, incredibly expressive and, I would say, cathartic way of singing. It's very here I am, and almost, it's not for entertainment, it's for communication with the divine. And the same way with Indian classical music, it immediately has this, I would say, puts you into a certain level of awareness or consciousness that is not merely for entertainment, but it actually puts you more into a state of very getting in touch with some deep emotions, which music can really bring out. Raga means mood or color. It's not a scale which you play technically. It's not about that. It's all about expression. And so I think, music has the tendency to bring out the depth of the human psyche, of human emotions. And I think no matter what language it is, no matter what style it is, we all can tap into that within ourselves and, through various styles of music. So, yeah, in terms of the kind of music that I've created, I could give you an example of how I've probably merged some Indian classical, I would say, vocal approaches with English lyrics. And this is a song that I did called Ocean, which I could just maybe even do a cappella for you, though it's,
just anything, yeah.
I don't have any instruments with me, but just the way in which I'll approach the melody, you'll kind of hear a resonance of more of an Indian classical feeling, but the lyrics are all English, and so it kind of meets in a hybrid of the East and the West. So, ocean, take Take me in your arms and engulf me whole. My total being is yours. I return to you, ocean. I am merely a drop carried on the current of time. I am free to flow within your tide. Take all I have, quench my longing thirst, and let my see what you see, the infinite sky. You see, so it has this, even though the words are English, thank you.
Beautiful, really.
Thank
Touches the heart.
So even though the words are English and the poetry is English, also the lyrics are let me be the ocean, let me see what you see, the infinite sky. I am merely a drop carried on the infinity of time. I am free to flow within your tide. So it's this idea that we are all just one drop in the ocean, and we all are the ocean, which I would say is the universal consciousness, you see. And even though we may all seem like different drops, we all fall like rain to that ocean and get merged with the whole. So that's what the song is. And in terms of it being something that can be universally applied in different cultures, or just touch the hearts of different people from around the world which may not know the style of Indian classical or may not know English, you know. So it's not meant to be for one audience. It's meant to somehow, you know, it's this universal language which hopefully we are more getting closer towards cultural integration and an understanding that we can all connect through music, you know, in any way that we can, even if we don't speak the same dialect or you know, understand the history of a tradition. I think that's what a responsibility of an artist is to be a channel.
That's great, Nikki. It's what a beautiful song, and it's just really amazing. The flow is just amazing. It just sort of syncs with a lot of the classical or the South Asian. You did a talk on Tagore songs with Nitin Sawhney. You actually talked about there was that event on Tagore, which is from our part of Bengal, Bangladesh, and West Bengal. Would you like to talk about what was your impression about that? I mean, you know, with Nitin Sawhney, I mean, you know, with such talented people, just talk a little bit, you know, because I just thought that since I'm sure Lubna Appa and all can sort of, you know, relate that to that very well, as well as our Bangladeshi audience and Bengali audience. Just a quick something, if you.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting because that whole TED talk was, you know, Rabindranath Tagore had a conversation with Einstein in 1932, And of course, Rabindranath Tagore was he used to go to Oxford very often and did a lot of lectures there. And they had a conversation in 1932 about science and spirituality, and also looked at the different perspectives of things from the West and from the East. So, for example, on the table there was a vase with a flower on it, very simple, and they both started discussing this flower in the vase. And Einstein was his approach was very scientific and technical, and then Tagore's was about beauty and about poetry. And so something as simple as a flower in a vase could create this kind of discussion about perspectives, how someone might see something. And it could be like, for example, if someone walks past a tree, that tree could just be quite meaningless to someone. Or a poet could look at it and see the light flickering through the leaves and suddenly creating a dance of a rapture of beauty and awe, and have a connection to the divine in that one moment. So this is the difference of perspectives, how one can actually see things. And I think there is beauty within both the West and the East. I think there is a difference probably in how we express poetry, to a certain degree, and obviously music. But it was a discussion about those two incredible minds and how they are having a discussion on perspectives between the West and the East.
Sure, that's wonderful. I mean, Nazrul also did the same thing. Our national poet, he brought in so many different languages: Persian and Arabic and Turkish. Now we move on. Nikki, thank you so much. That was a fantastic reflection, and we'll come back. Our second person is quite interesting. This Qawwali and rock. Jonas, are you there? Jonas, are you there?
Yeah, let me just
Yeah,
unmute
hi, Jonas. I'd like to welcome Jonas Stampe from Denmark. Jonas, are you in Copenhagen? Where are you at the moment?
I'm in Aarhus. That's the second city in Denmark.
Okay, yeah, I've been to Aarhus. Okay, so there we bring you from the Nordic part of the world, the Scandinavia. Jonas, I would like to start off with you as to, this very interesting fusion of rock and Qawwali, how you came about to that. And similarly, we were talking when we were talking with Nikki just now, as to what's sort of your perspective and how things have evolved in terms of the music that is from that part of the world, and something like Qawwali, which has Persian and Arabic roots. Of course, you will know better. I mean, it's also sung in Urdu, and then, it has other kind of mixes, and the beats and rhythms and so forth. And how do you sort of fusion that with rock? I mean, I just would like to start off asking you, tell us something about your music and how this fusion evolved and so forth. Jonas.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nikki. That was really rocking. I haven't prepared some sort of monologue or speech in any way.
No, just frankly sharing.
I was sort of like being ready for a sort of discussion, but like if there's, I'll talk a bit on the subject, and then whenever you feel like you need some more out of me, you just ask or interrupt, like, so, but what can I say? I should probably say that, I'm half Pakistani. My father was from Pakistan. He was from Rawalpindi, and my mother is Danish. And so when I was playing music as a child, I didn't grow up with my father, and I didn't grow up in Pakistan or with any kind of culture like that. My parents were divorced when I was like very young. But then when I came to Denmark, I just like creativity was my, sort of way to use all the confusing energy that I had when I was a child, all the things that I couldn't really, define or pinpoint, just some things that were a little bit different. And so that became music for me, and I started playing, and I was playing a lot, and just that was my whole world. And when something becomes your whole world like that, then things start to emerge, where, I mean, I think David Bowie, just to take a quote from, I mean, a lot of people said this, but like, David Bowie said, well, I mean, art is the process of finding out who you are and where you are. That's like a process that you can use art for. And so in that perspective, like when you get yourself involved and work with these things that are like, deep internally and are also sort of like out in the world, but maybe sometimes even, if the world goes to here, then sometimes you try to always get a step further if you can, like, feel that comparison. And I could just feel like some other music in me. I mean, I was like deeply into Jimi Hendrix and that kind of stuff, blues guitar playing and rock music. And I just realized when I was playing for many hours every day, I just realized other stuff was coming up. And I didn't really know what that was until I, by coincidence, read the biography by Pandit Ravi Shankar. And then all of a sudden I could see, oh my God, my heritage and my DNA and all these things, I really saw that they were like, I could feel it was within me. And yeah, so I think my whole trip started with actually going to Delhi and very luckily meeting Pandit Ravi Shankar in 1998. And I mean, Nikki, if you see Anushka, I would love if you give her a greeting from me. Like, I haven't seen her for 20 years or something. And I was only like, part of that world for a year or something. Then I lived in Calcutta and studied sitar. And just by being near to someone like Pandit Ravi Shankar and feeling that approval by a person like him, it gave me the confidence to sort of feel like I can go anywhere in the world and I can sit with anyone and I can play any kind of instrument. Doesn't matter what instrument it is, really. And I can somehow be part of whatever that is, in a small way maybe, but I can be part of anything. And so since then, that's, just sent me off in directions. And so since then, to like, come to the subject, then I went to Pakistan and just stayed there for a long time, and I didn't know anybody. And then I met Mirali and Sherali Kawal. And the way to make the fusion happen is like, I think, in Pakistan, it's very much of the Kawals. They are a family. So there's the two brothers, the two old brothers who are the leaders. They sing, and then the whole group is basically the family, right? So all the chorus singers, and the clappers, and the drivers, and the sound engineer, and the tabla player, and everybody. it's all family. They have a lot of children and cousins and all that, and I very quickly, I mean, the saying that music is a global language and all that. I mean, the way I see it like that is, music can get you a lot closer to people, or art. I mean, music and art can get you a lot closer to people a lot faster than maybe other things can. Because when you sit and you, especially like with something that is devotional, something which is defined in the sense that we already, before we start playing a note, we already know that our ambition is to be part of something that's bigger than ourselves. So when you already have that predisposition, then it's, all art and all music can do that. But when you have the predisposition, then already you're a step into this movement of getting, leaving leaving yourself or your ego or whatever that is, leaving that and being in this room together with the other musicians. And when you are in that situation and one person, maybe in the audience or someone on the stage, go into trance or start crying or really deliver something like personal, then it's like, then you've been naked together, or if you understand what I mean, like spiritually. And then it's like, there's not much more to hide from each other. That's how I think we feel. And so when it's like that, it was just really quickly for me to become, I'm part of that family now. I'm part of Mirali Sherali Kawal. I'm part of that family. I'm seen as them as, a son and a brother and an uncle, and their house is my house. And I play with the group because that comes as a responsibility, as part of if you're in the family, well, then you also play with the kawals, then you play in the group. And I'm not a kawal, and I don't have I don't know all the tunes and all the ragas and all these things, and I'm not fluent in the languages they sing. But if there's a song that's difficult for me that I don't know, at least I can clap, and so that's my responsibility. And if there's a raga that I know, then I can play guitar, or if there's a chorus I know, I can sing the chorus. And so in that way, I just feel like with the music and especially the things where, I mean, if we're comparing Western culture to Asian culture, then you can say there is some sort of difference in Asia, where it's set in a culture where it's much more easy to say that we're going to have a connection with God now, and this is what we're going to establish when we do this. And I mean, in many circles where I come in Europe, that's not something you just say, or try to achieve. It's a little bit like, it's just not, just doesn't really fit in. But when you have that thing going, it just goes quicker with getting to know each other. And I mean, and as Nikki said, like from experience, from being part of a culture, the way that I can make, I mean, I made the fusion group with the son of Mirali Sherali Kawal. His name is Ijaz Shirley, he's a singer. And when we sit on stage and we play a raga and he's singing and I'm playing guitar, and what really matters to me is those experiences that we had together, like the memories of driving on a dirt road for 8 hours and not being able to lean your head against the window because it's 60 degrees hot, and getting up at 4 a.m. to practice, or being at these and concerts where thousands of people go into trance and having those experiences, that's kind of what makes it a really strong connection. It's hard to put words on it, but we're playing, and then all of a sudden we just know, like we have this feeling together. And yeah, it's the experiences. It's with the kawal, and I mean, and Sufi music around the world, having the experiences of going into trance and being with people who go into trance, and that whole environment of taking it so seriously and leaving yourself so vulnerable and letting go of yourself, that made a massive impression on me. And I think it will on anybody. And of course, so that puts me in a direction where I feel that there's different layers to whatever thing I communicate when I make music with anybody, wherever.
Amazing. Jonas, amazing. You want to just put a quick, sing something in the kawali rock? I mean, you want to sort of I know you don't know instruments, but you want to sort of, just for 1 or 2 minutes, you want to sort of give some kind of, if you like, because I think it's quite amazing what you put together. It was very Sufi. It was at the same time, but your Danish background with rock. I mean, is there anything you want to just sing for us? Just very quick.
I don't know really if it makes any sense. I mean,
but you don't have to. I mean, I'm just saying that to sort of, I just thought that maybe, you want to, or that's fine.
I mean, I would like to, I could play a couple of minutes on sitar or something, but then again,
we can come back then. You can.
I would have to pick up my
back. That's no problem, because it's quite amazing what you just discussed. Because and it reflected together with what Nikki was saying. You brought in another dimension, which is the kawali and the kawals. And I know Nikki's twin sister, Tanya Wells, has done a lot of things in Urdu and these festivals of ghazals. She's done brilliant. So it's just all kind of comes together. I mean, this is what's amazing to me, no matter what culture, what origins, it's just amazing. So, so with that, I would like now to come into my home base, and Lubna Appa is, as I said to you, is very well regarded. So Jonas will come back. So just I'm going to introduce to you Mrs. Lubna Mariam. She runs a dance academy. She's a dancer. She's a writer. She's done a lot of creative work. Lubna Appa, you've been hearing these two amazing artists.
Absolutely. I was so impressed, and what wonderful experiences both of them have gone through. And I think their cross-cultural background has enriched them. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us.
Lubna Appa, a little bit louder, Lubna Appa.
Thank you so much, both of you, Jonas and Nikki, for sharing your experience with us. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's a little low, but we are okay. It's okay. That's
all right.
Fine. So Lubna Appa, I personally would now like to leave the floor to for you to sort of, you also, with these two, amazing talented musicians, you have also done a lot of fusion. I mean, recently, just to let the audience know, she was talking about doing something in Turkey, as far as, and she's done something in the Persian stuff. And she, and to you, my question is, Lubna Appa, we were talking about sitar. Nikki's talked about, the other different instrumentation and vocals. Now, bringing the dance aspect to the music, right? I mean, if you could share with us, you have an instrumentation where you do creative movements, right? And there is vocals, but what you do is another dimension to the whole I mean, it's got a holistic dimension as well, right? So I would like you to share on a similar line, you know, the spiritual dimension, the other things, and in fusion, when you bring like different dance movements together, you know, I just like to know, you know, how does that evolve? How do you put that together? What are the things that you look at, and so forth? So, you know, I'm not a knowledgeable person at all in dance.
You are, don't, no,
No, I mean,
absolutely not.
Bharatanatyam is, I mean, you have so many within South Asia, you have so many dance forms. And then, you know, and with us, we have Sabrine, the oldest band in Jerusalem. You know, they have all these other things that they talked about it for the last event. So it's just fascinating to me, you know, how it is. It's anyway. So Lumnapa, I will leave it to you now. The floor is to you.
I think it is also because I am almost one generation ahead of all of you here. I have a PowerPoint presentation. I'm sorry because this is how I can I share my PowerPoint?
Sure.
Have you given me permission?
could you just give? She wants to share the PowerPoint. So Appa, you.
So before I share my PowerPoint, I would just like to
talk to you about a little bit about yourself. Yes.
I have been on stage for 50 years, and maybe more than that, 55, I would say. And unfortunately, through these 55 years, I don't know whether I have found spirituality, but I do know that performance and the performative space is extremely powerful. It is extremely transformative, and it is a place which I revere. I have given much thought to what performance actually means, but I don't know whether I have found spirituality in the sense that you are talking about it. I am still searching. It is a work in progress. So therefore, I also started working with the dance of Mugham, which is the Middle Eastern, because I have performed almost all the classical styles of South Asia. But I wanted, because personally, I come from a family which has a very spiritual history. Unfortunately, I have not found spirituality. I'm still in search of it. My grandmother was a practicing Sufi. She used to do chilla. So I'm still trying to understand this woman who was such a beautiful writer. But I will say one thing, Rumi. I think performance is extraordinary. Performative space is extraordinary. And it has a lot of potential. I saw on your website, you talked about potential. No doubt about it. But I don't know about spirituality. Let me share my, and of course, because my art is very corporeal, it is embodying whatever I'm thinking. So it is experiential, it is universal, and I would say very empowering too. So should I go ahead and share my?
Yeah, please do, Appa.
Okay. Host disabled participant screen sharing. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
So Nipa, what should I do? I don't know how. It doesn't show me anything. Nipa, are you there? Nipa asked, unmute, please. Asked.
Can I share my screen?
Nipa, how can she share the screen?
You can share all participants. Okay, try now.
Yeah, okay. Yes. So besides being a dancer and a performer, I am also a Sanskritist. And why? Because I have always been in search for a meaning for what I have been doing on stage for so many years. So this is about art, creativity, and agency. And I'm so happy that Nikki also spoke about agency and nurture and nature. Before I go into my presentation, I would like to uh, present the context of where I come from, who I am as a Bangladeshi. Bangladesh has an extraordinary history of confluence of various beliefs. We've had the Buddhists in the first centuries, all the way up to the 7th century, and the Natha yogis, and then we had Muslim Sufis, not the Muslim conquerors, but I would say more the Sufis. We have extraordinary amalgamation of the Tantra and Sufism in Persian texts like the Yoga Kalandar, which were written in Bengal, and we have a history of the Vajrayana tantric practice, which went all the way up to Tibet. And now almost in all Western cities, you have these yellow hats, the temples of the Buddhist yellow hats. And who was it taken, who took it all the way up to Tibet? Atisha Dipankar from just about 60 kilometers from Dhaka. So, and all this has fused into the extraordinary philosophy of the Bauls, where they sing about the philosophy of Sahaja. So this is where me and Rumi, we are all based. We come from, I say this is the land of Sahaja. So what I will actually be presenting is, we talk about the world that we live in, the structure that we are born into, and how maybe art gives us the agency to come out of the structure, and why creativity is the force which gives us the power to overcome structure, and art as a site for transformation. So there is this beautiful quote from Natha Yogi from East Bengal. He was a British gentleman who took up the tantric practices. So this, I would like to read out in full the quote. Man is born with an instinct for naturalness. He has never forgotten the days of his primordial perfection, except in so much as the memory became buried under the artificial superstructure of civilization and its artificial concept. Sahaja means natural. The tree grows according to Sahaja, natural and spontaneous in complete conformity with the natural laws of the universe. No one tells it how to grow, whether it should go left or right, unlike for us. Nobody tells it what to do or how to grow. It has no swadharma or rules, duties, obligations incurred by birth. It has only swabhava, its own inborn self or essence to guide it. Sahaja is that nature which, when established in oneself, brings the state of absolute freedom and peace. We all know that we are, even before we are born, we are born into a structure. We have a name, we have a religion, we have an address, we have ways of talking. So we never actually know what our swabhava is. I think it is the role of art to allow us to understand our own swabhava or consciousness. If the world that we are born in is the artificial superstructure, Sahaja is anti-structure. If the world we have built is bounded, then Sahaja is unbounded. It is sarvatmika and or all-inclusive. Sahaja philosophy, based on the concept, proclaims the individual capacity to realize truth through embodied practices. And it is the concept of Sahaja that has for centuries fired the imagination of this people of this amazing deltaic land that is Bangladesh, which is not just a confluence of rivers from the east, west, and the north, but also a land that has witnessed the convergence of mystic beliefs from far and wide, which have all converged into the ocean of Sahaja. So even though we are born into a structure, every human being has the power to overcome this structure and gain agency. In social sciences, there is a standing debate over the primacy of structure or agency in shaping human behavior. Agency is the capacity of individuals to act independently and to make their own free choices. Structure is the recurrent patterned arrangements that influence or limit the choices. So I will not go more into details, but I will tell you why creativity or the performative space gives us the power to overcome structure. In the West, we talk about creation as a power which allows us to make something from outside ourselves. But the translation of creation, sorry, this should be Srishti, the R has dropped off. Srishti, which is the translation of creation, does not mean the making or construction of something from outside ourselves. It is a manifestation from within us. The usual translation, creation, is misleading. Creation implies the creator acts upon an external material and thus brings about the world process. This translation does not do justice to the Indian point of view. Srishti is derived from the root srija, which means to let go, to pour forth, to project. This implies that the world process is already implicitly contained within the creator. Creativity is an act of manifestation and emanation. It is a theophany. It is an experiencing of one's swabhava, giving agency to the creator, the poet, the performer. The corporeality of dance makes the act existential, experiential, and universal. Here I have a quote from Tagore. Tagore's lifelong quest was a quest for creative consciousness. In an essay entitled Samanjasya, Tagore writes, "Whatever transports the spirit of man from the darkness of unawakened self-consciousness to the joyful luminosity of existence has a deep attraction for him. This is our hunger for feeling, for expression, this desire for self-realization." I'm not using the phrase in any spiritual or mystical sense, is nothing more than the universal urge for being more clearly conscious of oneself. Art has its origin in this urge. Now there's this wonderful philosopher, medieval ages, Abhinavagupta, who gives a very beautiful explanation of why any sort of art practice, whether it is painting or sculpture or theater or music, whenever we are in the real space, any act has a response which is called the arthakriya karatva. Whenever we need to respond to every act that we see in real space. But when we are watching a performance, we respond, but we don't respond by acting out our response, but by feeling the response within us. So as a performer, I have often thought, I was performing on stage with a friend. I know I have 104 degrees temperature, I have fever, I don't feel like dancing at all. But right in the middle of the performance, I start crying. And then I question myself, I know I am not Radha, and the person opposite me is not Krishna, that is Shormila, my friend, I am Lubna Mariam. Why am I crying? I'm crying because the act of performance makes me realize that I can cry. And that is such a powerful experience, that I have the ability to empathize. I have the ability to feel. And that realization sort of makes me cry. So what Abhinavagupta is saying, he's one of the greatest philosophers, mystics, and aesthetics, that the art is a narration made up of a apperception or consciousness affected by discursive cognition. This definition makes two important statements. Firstly, performance is not an imitation of reality. It is a reorganization, anuvyavasaya atmakam, or transformation of our lived experience through an active apperception or a voluntary consciousness merged with self-consciousness. In effect, a deconstruction of the world as we know it, followed by a conscious reconstruction. Secondly, the stage is the site for alternate mode of cognizing the world. So this is an extra empirical experience. It is neither subjective nor is it objective. It is beyond our day. It's an extra daily experience, and therefore, what we become conscious of when we are witnessing a performance is the fact that we can be conscious, is the fact that we can feel. So this itself is very empowering. So I will not go into this a much longer presentation, but what I actually wanted to share is that the active performance itself, the performative space itself, is so empowering that I don't know whether spirituality, really, Rumi, I am in search of spirituality. I don't know whether spirituality will empower me more or less, but I know that performance has been very empowering in my own life, and I do feel that because it is a reorganization of reality, it is another way of cognizing the world. And especially because as dancers, our language is universal, our language is experiential, our language, I think, is also embodied. It is easier to share what I'm feeling through this embodied act of dancing. I don't know whether I was able to get through to all of you. I'm not a spiritual person, but I feel very strongly that performance is very empowering.
No, Appa, thank you. Thank you very, very much. It was a very interesting reflection. As I said, all the reflections are brilliant. Perspectives are amazing because they're coming from different angles. Now, to sort of liven two performances, I mean, Nikki and Jonas, would you like to just, share, maybe you can do together, or Jonas, if you want to do something, so that, because some of our audience want to just hear something,
Okay, give me a second. I'll find an instrument.
Yeah. And Nikki, okay. Same goes with you. Your skifaya was amazing. If you can just start a little bit of that and just give, I loved your kifaya. I don't know if you just.
Well, I mean, it's quite, what I'll do is I'll do a ancient Vedic shloka.
Oh, lovely.
Over 3,000 years old. And I mean, essentially, Labna Mariam, I loved what you were saying, because it's interesting that you were talking about Sahaja as well, because I was actually born into Sahaja Yoga meditation practice. So I was born into the meditation practice, which is called Sahaja Yoga, which is also, about this universal integration. And Saha meaning born with you, and Ja, it's like born with you is the right to attain this Sahaja experience. And I think as performers, as you were saying, that spirituality is still an ongoing quest. I think the world of spirituality is this silent inner journey within that we all go through very personally, whereas expression is more an external language that is shared with the world. So something that is spiritual is not something that necessarily everyone, it's the formlessness or the wordless journeys that we experience within ourselves, whether it be through meditation, contemplation, self-inquiry, even just looking at a lake and being alone with oneself. This is, what I would say is a spiritual practice, is to be with yourself. But in terms of being an expresser or a performer or a creative, that's what you share your inner world into the outer world. What you share your internal world with the external world. And that's why we can be, there's an expression, as you know, in Sanskrit of anahata and ahata. So with sound, all of the notes are in the ether. And for the musician, they capture the notes and put them in the body in the anahata, which is inaudible, and then make it ahata, which is audible for the sound to be heard to the audience, to the people. And so it is all our responsibilities to also touch that silence within us, where you can really hear the real sound, and then make that inaudible sound or feeling or emotion or thought accessible into form through either embodiment, through dance, through art, through sound. And so what I really love is this beautiful non-dual relationship between the formlessness and form, the inaudible with audible, the internal with the external. And that dance of the two is what makes life, really. Because even from birth, as you were saying, there's this predetermination of everything that you will experience in life, or your inclinations of what you will do. It's like it's all unraveled there. And Michelangelo said about the David that David, the statue that he created, was always there, trapped inside the marble, but he just was in the process of chiseling him out. Mm-hmm. In the sense that everything is already there, we are just in the process of chiseling. Always.
Beautiful, very, very
saying that actually, Jonas,
I would like to share with you another little explanation about Sahaja, as I study the Buddhist Vajrayana principles.
Lunapa,
the first time that the word...
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Lunapa.
The first time that the word Sahaja has been used, the word Sahaja was used in a Buddhist Vajrayana text called He Vajratantra. And Sahaja, the exact sentence is Saha Jatyam Yad Udbhutam Tadeva Sahajam. What is born together, the Saha Jatyam Yad Udbhutam, what is born together is Sahaja. Now, what is it that was born together? We have to understand that Buddha came from the milieu that he was born into, is the tantric milieu, where you have the male principle and the female principle. And the male principle for the Hindu tantrics was free will. And of course, the female principle or prakriti is knowledge. So after 14 years of meditation, Buddha said, what the hell will we do with free will? That doesn't make a better world. So he threw free will away and he said, Sahajatyam, what has to be born together is compassion and knowledge. So in Bengal, especially East Bengal, I always say it like a Sahanubhuti Desh. This is the country of compassion. And that is actually what has saved us from the extremist violent fundamentalism which has engulfed almost all of South Asia, the Middle East and South Asia. This whole philosophy of sahaja and compassion, which is very prevalent all over rural Bangladesh. Because every day there will be folk singing under open air.
About Jonas is ready, so
Yes.
he just wanted to. Yeah, Jonas, are you there? Let's do the music. And Nikki, you're most welcome to come in. You're a fantastic voice.
Oh, yeah.
I loved your voice. So yeah, carry on, Jonas. Just start off, whatever.
I think Jonas is tuning. So if Jonas is tuning, I'll just quickly sing a shloka.
Yeah,
I don't
sure,
know what
sure,
key
Oh, wonderful.
Jonas is doing it in, but this I'm sure also Lubna Mariam, you might recognize these Sanskrit words, and also
I would prefer to
shloka.
listen to you.
Yeah, of course, I know. So this is a shloka for describing the attributes and the descriptions of Shri Krishna. Kasturi tilakam lalatpattale vakshasthale kaustubham nasagre navamotikam karatale venu kare kankanam sarvange harichandanam sulalitam Kante cha muktavali Gopastri pariveshtito vijayate Gopal Chura Mani.
Wow, amazing, amazing,
Mhm.
amazing. Jonas, are you there, Jonas? Unmute.
He was trying to join in, I could hear.
Yeah, he's there. Jonas, are you? Unmute yourself, Jonas. You're still, yeah. you're okay.
I was playing along, but
Yes, I
No.
did hear it.
We couldn't hear you. So carry on,
Okay.
Jonas. Jonas is fused with the guitar and kawali. For audiences who joined late, just to let you know, he's from Denmark. And he's fused the rock from Nordic and kawali. Amazing.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Amazing.
Well, that
It's sort of,
through the
it kind of, the guitar tunes kind of synced with Nikki when you were singing. I mean, we couldn't hear Jonas, but in his guitar, while you were your flows going up and down, I could see that his guitar syncing could just go with you, Nikki. I mean, it was, I don't know, it just got that feeling.
When I picked up my guitar, I was just tuning a little bit before, and then when you started singing, we were in the same tune.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's
And,
how
I was playing along while
they've
you were
never
singing,
done. This is what
the sound
music
was tough,
does.
so that's
They've
why
brought
I ended
them
in this
together.
situation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, do you hear anything? Like, I mean, does it sound like
We can jam if it's possible.
Yes, it's wonderful. Fantastic. Now, we would love to open this to the audience who've been listening to us very patiently. I just, you can go sing, do the tunes in the background. It's lovely. Nipa, I'd like you to just get our audience to interact, or, we would love to have your comments, feedback, questions. Please, we had some fantastic, experience, I would say.
If there's any questions that anyone has of anything that we were discussing, maybe they can ask.
Please unmute yourself and do go ahead and ask questions.
Yeah, Roxana, I don't know who, there are a couple of people, Alexandra, anyone, please feel free.
I think someone noted there how spiritual it was. Someone, is it Nulufar, has mentioned that Nikki, it came across as very spiritual for her. I'm just reading on the chat.
Yeah, Amalia, yes.
Yeah, someone said it's very deeply touching. I think that's what it is, isn't it? That how music comes across to you. It's how we perceive it as an audience. Generally, we all have the same or very similar responses. Because reading the chat, I felt exactly the same. It touches you within, and I think that's what you were talking about, all of you.
So can I ask a question?
Sure, Roxana, sure.
I want to direct this to Nikki. Just want to know who her guru has been, because she's just an amazing singer, and her classical, what are the words? The ragas she goes through, the range is amazing. So, I mean, she's extremely good as well. But you always need a teacher to take you there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Roxana. Well, essentially, I have been mostly my own guru, having been self-taught. However, only before the pandemic, actually Pandit Ajoy Chakrabarti from Kolkata made me his disciple as well. So, and he's such a Pandit of Indian classical maestro. And so he invited me to Shruti Nandan, which is in Kolkata. And I stayed for some time with him and his family. Also, his daughter, Kaushiki Chakrabarti, is a fantastic singer. And so I spent some time with him. And I just really, in the same way that Jonas said about Pandit Ravi Shankar, that it was just to have his blessing, really, and to have his approval and his blessing more than anything, to know that ultimately, I do think, we all are our own guru, and we all have also these mountains like Pandit Ajoy Chakrabarti, who is a mountain of knowledge and a mountain of music, to help facilitate our journeys and our growth. But he really gave me the confidence to know that I can, everything is already unraveled within you. And so one has to really pay attention and listen to the currents, the inner currents that you have to individually all do to get to where you need to go. So with my journey of music and spirituality for me have always gone hand in hand. They are one and the same. And so where music takes me in my inner realm is the same. It's like the river, the two rivers combine into one. And again, it all ends up in the same ocean. So yes, I would say in terms of training, I have trained both in Indian classical styles and then also Western classical and Western contemporary as well. I also have done jazz. I also have done pop music. I write my own music as well. But then having the training of Pandit Ajoy Chakrabarti has also just been a great blessing to have in my life. So I would say, yeah.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Nikki, yeah, amazing. Thanks, Roxana, for the question. We have a pianist that joined in from Bolivia, from La Paz. She's actually a noted pianist, Sophie. She was supposed to join in. I don't know if she's still around, but I was just thinking that she could ask something from South America, because we had somebody, Sophie, that I know. But anyway, if the audience don't have a question, they have a lot of comments they've put in chat, and I really appreciate for taking the time to come and join us on a Saturday, and you're on different time zones. It's really wonderful. Now, basically, our time has sort of come to an end. But before that, I just wanted to let you know that our series continues. And we are looking at different aspects. I mean, the spiritual dimension, the holistic dimensions, they're all interwoven with music and dance, right? So whether you are a certain religion or follow a certain philosophy, the most interesting point is that they're all interwoven, meaning it's actually kind of helping each other to grow and evolve, which is to me is fascinating. Every time I hear music from another culture, I mean, I've been lately hearing Arabic music, and it just blows my mind away. That I feel like I'm transported to a life that I used to maybe live. And I don't know where that comes from. And maybe it's a genetic thing. Maybe, I don't know, but music just reminds you of that. And there's a science to it, I'm sure, So speaking of that, I mean, our next thing that I don't know, it's not finalized, but we're going to talk about happiness. So we're going to go, we'll let you know, we'll keep you posted, but we're going to talk about Ikigai and Jonas Danish Hager, which is the happiness principles from Denmark and Japan. But we're looking at different things. So please keep a look on our website, on my website. And I would love to have any suggestions from the audience, anything, inputs, for future events, whatever kind of moves you, please feel free to share. And that's what I had to say today. Anybody wants to, Nipa, anything? There's Amalia, Roxana, Sarah. Actually, Roxana and Sarah, I have a special thanks to them. I want to give it today because they introduced me to this amazing space of music and culture. And Sarah, thank you very much. And Roxana, of course, to introduce me to such a amazing circle that you did. So, Nipa, are you there? Appa, Napa, thank you very much.
Pleasure's ours.
Nikki, amazing.
Rumi, thank you so much for thanking us, but the pleasure is ours, both Sarah's and mine, that we've met you, and you have opened up a wide genre for us also on different planes that, you keep mixing. I mean, the songs you give us, the music you give us, and of course, we mustn't forget the architecture that comes along with it as well has been great learning from you. So thank you. And Nikki, if you're ever passing Dubai, we'd love you to come over home, because my husband's a musician as well. He plays the piano, and we'd love to see how you would sound with your classicals on a piano.
Sure. Thank you so much. I would love to come again to Dubai. I was there last year actually, but yes, thank you so much. And when I am there, we'll definitely keep in touch. And
That's
thank
great.
you, Rumi, for having me today. It's been such a pleasure to get to know all of you and to share this wonderful webinar today. Really, really a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Appa, and all the audience. A big thank you from me. And as I said, we all grow together. So please, give us your feedback for future events. And this is my idea really and I write quotes as well, which Roxana knows. And the idea is, and that I do it purely out of my passion and hobby. And this kind of gives me that sort of opening to something, looking forward to something different, apart from the work we do, our regular work, our sort of incomes, and, all the sort of hectic life that we go through. So thank you very much, all of you. And till next time, we'll keep you posted. And as I said, please give us feedback, on things, through my email, just anything you have ideas, going in the future. I'd love to put something together. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great week. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye-bye, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Rumi. Bye.
Bye. Nipa, are you there? Well, I'm here. I don't have a time constraint, but anyway. Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.